Om. 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 समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्. You all have heard Gurudev. You have seen the importance of the family, and of course each one loves their family. Yet, instead of building strong bonds, subconsciously we build for ourselves chains of bondage. None of us can be an island on our own. And therefore, in nature, whether it is creatures and especially human beings who are considered to be social animals, bond together not only to create temporary families but lifelong families. If you see in animals, birds, the children grow up, they are freed. In fact, they are pushed out of the nest by the parents so that they can flap their own wings and they can fly. And once they fly out, they reach far and wide, spreading their species culture, their species far into the world. But human beings over the years have evolved differently. We require a family at every stage of our life. You've also heard from Swamiji that we have larger and larger families. However, when we remain in one family for too long, there is an interdependence which is natural. But when the interdependence becomes a lifelong dependence for oneself, it becomes a bondage. Whenever we hear the word, whether in the Bhagavad Gita or in spiritual discourses, or when you are highly emotional, when your children are going to say a residential school like CIRS, or to the university, or these days not your daughter getting married, your son getting married, and you are handing over, you cry, you weep. And people tell you, now you have to learn to detach. And we are so afraid of this word detachment. That's why most people don't read the Bhagavad Gita, because everywhere the word detachment comes. Because we do not understand that love and attachment are poles apart. Don't confuse love to be attachment. Attachment binds. Love frees. Love keeps us together, but attachment keeps us together suffering. So, first and foremost, to understand the clear distinction between love and attachment, even in the family, whom there is no doubt there is natural love for. Anyone has no love for their family? Yeah. We all have love for our family, it's natural. As Gurudev said, blood is thicker than water. But when in the family, individuals become attached, and attachment means they depend for their security, their own happiness on someone, including their own children. That selfish dependence on someone for my happiness is called as attachment, and attachment binds. Whether you study in the spiritual literature, where it says that give up attachment to everything, everyone, including the fruits of your action, because your attachment binds you. To be able to recognize that our dependence on something to be happy is called as attachment towards that thing or that being. And what's wrong? We all want to be happy, is it not? But an attached person, a bound person, thinks of his or her happiness beyond even their own children or family members' happiness. And that is where, even in the family that we claim to love, the maximum sorrows, maximum frustration, the maximum quarrels are there in the family, and also the maximum hurts, isn't it? You grow up as siblings, but when you start making your own unit family, what happens? You bring someone from different families into your family. You become part of another family, both ways. And then, when own siblings start separating from each other, and very often only for money, most conflict happens because our attachment is more to wealth than family, than to people, because we depend on wealth more than people in this world. But wealth by itself cannot give us any happiness. It is our interaction with people. And especially during this pandemic, all of you must have realized, isn't it? There are some still wanting Zoom sessions. But how different it is when the children meet each other. When they play with each other, when we interact with each other, when we respond to each other. Is it not? So we need the larger family of the world, not just our small individualistic family with which you are living locked in your flats during the pandemic. And you know how suffocating it was getting to be, isn't it? In the lockdowns. At each stage of our life, we limit ourselves. We limit our love. We limit our interaction. We limit our progress. All this is called, this limitation is called as bondage. And none of us likes bondage. I remember once I was invited to be a guest at someone's spiritual discourse. He had come to the town where I was taking classes regularly. You know, we start on time, we end on time, as far as possible. We start on time, we end on time. But these people think, yeah, hamari maaj hai. You know, so that they are enjoying speaking, public should also enjoy. Yeah. This man came literally 1 hour 15 minutes late. Public was used to our discourses in that city, were there on time, 7 o'clock, and at 8:15, people were just ready to leave because discourse was till 8:30. We're just about to leave. And he walked in, everybody got up, all the namaskars and everything, and he started his discourse. He was quite inspiring, quite humorous also, quite entertaining. So people sat back in spite of waiting for so long. But after it became 9, it became 9:15, many people have to go back to their homes. They have to feed their families. 9:15, 9:30, then one elderly lady who could not sit for so long got up. He said, "Hey, Mike, bet ja." So she said, Jana, maybe she wanted to even go to the toilet, who knows? No? "Hey, Mike, ye satsang hai, utna nahi hai." Like that he said. "You sit down. You came according to your wish." And everybody was enjoying. Huh? But nobody goes out of here till I stop. Now tell me, you all came here with the children you were enjoying, especially when your children were getting all the rewards and you were taking photographs. But now if I tell you, you can't leave from here. That enjoyment itself, the thought that you do not have the freedom, what happens? Yeah. You cannot bear that limitation, that bondage, not having a choice. And sometimes do we realize what we do to our children by not giving them that upbringing, that teachings, that value systems by which you have the confidence that they will make the right choice, and even if they make a mistake, they will learn from it, and even if they have done the biggest crime, they have failed, they will learn from it and they will stand up and rise again, isn't it? Yet in our attachment, in our bondage, how we cling to our family members, suffocating them or not allowing them to grow, not giving them the freedom, not giving them the confidence, and not having faith in them. This is not only with children, even grown-up children, or even spouse with each other. Family is the very unit of the society, as Puja Gurudev would go on emphasizing, not an individual, not a couple. Family is the unit of society. As Gurudev was also talking from the Bhagavad Gita, even Arjuna in the battlefield knows that dharma, that way of harmonious living, where values were not just for individuals, but that law, that means those values by which we live in harmony with the whole world, and therefore India could give that slogan, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The larger our family is, the less attached we are. So, when we expand our vision of the family and we take care of the smaller things that creep into our own family, and that is selfishness, attachment, where we make a bondage out of love, not build a strong bond of love. The difference between love and attachment, which Gurudev has explained very beautifully in I Love You letters. every family, I would suggest, takes up those I love you letters, and as a family in your own homes, discuss at least this one text and see how it gives you the secret of a happy life. Because without a family, can we think about a happy life? And there he makes a clear distinction, which today in the short time now we have, because we are doing so many things together. I'll just point out the simple facts, but do make a deep study of this I love you letter, because after all, it is for our love and the people whom we love. It is said that a family that prays together stays together. But these days the family pray together, not pray together. But a family that will read I love you letters properly, study it, understand it, and live it, will definitely find that their personal life, individual life is happy. They can give happiness to the family. Give happiness, it's infectious. It comes back to you manifold times. Sometimes not from the individual that you expect. Because the more expectations you have, the more unhappy or disappointed you will be. In I Love You letters, which comes from Narad Bhakti Sutras, Puja Gurudev has explained the distinction between the bond of love and the bondage in love, and points out that love can be divided into the lower form, which is called as sneha or attachment, higher form as prema, and the highest being for the Supreme, who is everyone and everything, and that is called as Ishvara, Bhagwan, God, and that is called as bhakti. So what is bhakti also? It is the form of love. And how people in the name of devotion can become fanatic and kill each other. Is that called as love? Is that called as bhakti? Because love for God means love for not only every human being, but for the entire universe. And that's why in our scriptures we show the Virat form of Bhagwan, where everything, everyone, every creature, the benign as well as the ferocious, everyone is in the form of the Lord. Another beautiful thing, which of course in the sessions later on you might experience, that the best form of a family is seen in Bhagwan Shiva's family. Each one is a different personality. Yeah. He is the bull. She is the tigress, lioness. Yeah, and lioness is much more ferocious than the lion. She doesn't take any nonsense even from the lion. But he is the bull, she is the lioness. In nature, both of them can be together. He is a bull personality, go-getter, doer. Yeah? She is the one who is the protector and the provider. She actually goes out and gets for her child, and day and night protects the child. And each child is a different swabhava, a different personality. No? Most people want people to be like them. And if everybody is alike, they are clones. We'll deprive the whole universe because everybody will eat the same food. Yeah? One son is as dexterous as a mouse, and the other one who can stand there and by his mere might of spreading his feathers can frighten off people, Skanda and Ganesha. Each one's personality is reflected in that animal. Each one is different. Each one has their own different personality. And yet, they live together. Not that they don't have conflicts now and then, but in their love, in their mutual respect for each other, and a readiness to help each other and to make each other happy. All these four elements that Gurudev points out, a loving anxiety for the well-being of the beloved, a sense of deep response, not that I love you, I care for you. You know, there's one lady used to call me up early in the morning at 4 o'clock. I said, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. I know you will be awake. I said, yes, so what's the problem? And that time it was not mobile phones that all the time it will ring, you know. Anytime a telegram came or phone came, you wonder somebody is dead or what has happened, you know. So I pick up the phone and then she said, did you see the news? I say, I don't watch TV. At least not daily. Did you see what is happening in Rwanda? Why does God do like this? I said, okay, God messed up. What can you do about it? What can I do? Are we ready to respond for it? If we love someone and we see that person either doing wrong or suffering or is not able to do something, are we ready to come forward and do something immediately? We see our country, we see things that we complain about, but are we ready to do anything? People complain about how dirty our country is, and still, when you want, you'll go and put your own posters on those metros, making it look even uglier. Isn't that? Are we ready to respond? At the same time, do we know how to respond? Do we have an understanding of our beloved? So, 4 things. A loving anxiety for the well-being of the beloved. Second is ready to respond. Not just complain or cry about it or feel about it. Feel, of course, feel passionately. But are you ready to do something about it? Third, have an understanding of what is required. Have an understanding of the beloved. Otherwise, you'll be like that young boy from Scouts, seeing a woman stand at a traffic light, sees the green light, grabs her to the other side, and she hits him with the purse. He said, at least, I don't want anything. At least you should have said thank you. I took you across the road, but she said, but I didn't want to cross the road. Understanding of the beloved and a sense of respect. Respect for the beloved. A reverence for the beloved, even if it's your children. I remember one incident many, many years ago, before my brahmachari days. I was invited with the family for a reception, and there it was a la carte, not buffet, fine dining. And one family came there, husband, wife, and a small little 6-year-old kid. She was all well dressed. Even when she walks in, she's correcting her husband. Look, this way, that way, she's correcting, and all the time fixing the bow of the little child. Put your jacket like this, make him sit down. Fix the napkin. Put the napkin properly, she's instructing him. Not like this, like this. That time the waitress came. she handed over the menu to the lady. Then she handed over to the gentleman, and then she handed the menu and asked the little boy, would you like to read the menu? So he nodded his head. He was a 7-year-old kid. You know how all these fine dining restaurants, instead of them just making, white sauce macaroni, they'll say pasta, penne, ugatin. They will say something like this. So the mother, thinking that, what will my child know? She just pulls the menu. I'll order for him. The waitress gives the menu to the child again. What would you like to order, my dear? And he says, do you have burgers and fries? And she said, yes, certainly, specially made for you. Mother pulls the menu, burgers and fries. This is not a fast food shop. This is a proper restaurant. And she orders for the child. Not that children should be given fast food. That's not the point. But she orders for the child and gives her order. But the waitress then looks at the child and says, would you like some ketchup with your fries and your burger? It was a vegetarian place, but vegetarian burger also you get. And he nodded his head. Yes. This woman got so angry, telling her husband, did you read the name? Did you read the name? Get her fired. Go now. Go tell the manager. Fire him. Fire him right away. Now his problem was, if he said he read the name, what were you doing looking at her? Now that he's not read the name, also problem. Can't you even read a name of a person? While he has to hear all this, the little child holds his father and says, I love her. He said, too young to be loved. But what that boy said at that time, I share with all parents. He says, and she was an elderly waitress. He says, for the first time, someone made me feel I exist. Is love about ruling someone's life or just facilitating their life? Therefore, Puja Gurudev gives a clear distinction. Love is self-inclusive. We used to use the word selfless. We don't like that, which means I suffer. That's why you see all your posters all around. Now in Bombay also you'll see all the posters which says TV advertisement, मैं पूरी जीवन मैं अपना पूरा जीवन परिवार के लिए जिया हूं या जी हूं, अब मैं अपने लिए जीऊंगी, अपने लिए जीऊंगा. It doesn't mean that you have to sacrifice yourself. But along with your happiness, in giving happiness to the people around us, our happiness only multiplies. That's why our mission family motto is maximum happiness to maximum people for maximum time. Gurudev does not give this. Sometimes people tell me, that's very simple. What does it mean? That is what will make our smaller, our mission family, our larger family. And as Guruji used to say, in a world where people give maximum sorrow to maximum people in minimum amount of time. Love is self-inclusive. In love, you don't only think about yourself, but that doesn't mean you exclude yourself. But you think about the happiness, joy of others. In attachment, my happiness is more important. I don't care whether the other person suffers. That's why the person becomes dependent on that person. And whoever is dependent on that person will make that person suffer. See what happens in the family. Link it with spirituality also. In love, there is no reason. It is natural. It is the nature of each one of us to love. But when a reason comes into it, love gets blocked and we become attached. One couple were different. They were celebrating their 50th anniversary. Gurudev and we all went to that anniversary. And they remember at that age more from their past than where they have kept their spectacles right now. No? And he was telling, and the whole story was very interesting, how they had their fights, they had their quarrels, they had their differences, etc. And Gurudev said, nowadays, young couples can't stay in marriage for 5 months or 5 years. How did you all stay 50 years in marriage when each one of you are different? Man and woman themselves are different. It's not about equality. Equality is one thing. Difference is another. Every leaf in a plant is different. But none of them are less important than any part of the plant. That is, we have to understand that India gave to the world that equality and differences are different, but in spite of our differences, we are one. In uniformity is not unity. In uniformity, in fact, we start hating others who are not conforming to us. But we are that dharma, that culture, and that is the mindset that Hinduism has given to the world. By just saying Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that was not the statement, but they gave to the world to recognize unity in diversity. Equality amongst everything that is different. We have to know the different mindset. Otherwise, we have also started trying to make everybody uniform. In the same way, in the family, a woman is needed as much as a man is needed, as well as today a man is needed as much as a woman is needed. They are different, but no one is greater or higher than the other or lower than the other. Every time a laborer is needed, an executive is needed, a consultant is needed. We are one big unit social family. We cannot do without anything. During the pandemic, you realize when servants were not coming to clean your houses, what was the condition of the houses? You must have realized better these days. How dependent you become even on them, but do we value them? Yeah? In spite of all the differences. So Gurudev asked, how did you stay together, a spouse? How did you stay together? And there you get the secret of a happy marriage. He asked him the question, but he couldn't answer. He just lived, but he did not have answers. But wisdom comes naturally to women. Men have to learn it from books. Even though she was in kitchen, she was hearing everything that is going on outside. And whenever he is in trouble, she comes to his rescue. And never says, you owe me one. She comes to his rescue, and from behind the curtain, even at the age of 75, that shyness, and she says, Swamiji, you like someone because of something. You love someone in spite of everything. Whole spiritual growth is learning to give up our likes and dislikes. Love is there when my individuality merges with the totality or the family or another person. And the moment we think about that moment, we think about love, or anyone whom we love or feel that oneness with, including our immediate family, The mere thought comes. The moment you see a distinction, the moment you see the other, that moment your mind starts getting agitated, frustrated, greedy, angry, etc. Is it not? Therefore, family is the place where different people living together in love learn to be happy, learn to work together, learn to interact with together, learn to grow with each other, learn to forgive, and go beyond. All these are spiritual values that we require for nirvana, we require for enlightenment, we require for the supreme Satchidananda Brahma, which is our own nature. Huh? So Gurudev explains that love is beyond likes and dislikes. In love, there may be pain seeing the pain of the beloved, but there is no insecurity. In attachment, we cling to the person because we can't get what we want, because attachment is selfish. Love frees, because love is all giving. And in giving, we all have the freedom. And the joy of love is felt when we feel that we are free to love even if the other is not ready to love us. And such a person can live moment to moment in love. So few distinctions between love and attachment. Thus, when you feel frustrated in the family, when you feel frustrated in the neighborhood, which is our larger family, let us start at least making friendship with our neighbors, which we do in India. It's not like we don't. No? Let us make it for the larger colony. Let us make the place cleaner for our children, our colony. Get together, and that togetherness creates the family feeling. There are difference of opinions, there will be there. But if my opinion is more important than your opinion, then we break up the family, not make the family. Sometimes we go to build a whole family of the world, but we keep breaking up our own families because we cannot give up that sense of individuality. Only when we get recognition, there we go, talking about one big family. But are we one big family first at home, in our neighborhood, no? In our colony, in our city, in our country? Even as a country, when we get so split up, we will be different. We are different. We have different opinions. But when we keep our mind in love with that one which is the many, then you see the family stays together, grows together, goes beyond all limitations, all differences, even sometimes quarrels and conflicts, and goes beyond bondage to bond in love. So in midst of all this, whether it's parenting, whether it is spouse, whether it is the larger family, all these points have been given. And Puja Gurudev has given this very beautifully in I Love You letters. You give out love to the world, love has to come back to you. But when you have your own desire and your own expectations, certain expectations is valid. But you expect everyone to be like you, or behave like you, or think like you, or do everything for your happiness, then you will be miserable. And if you are miserable, you can only give misery to others. And when you give misery to others, they return it twice fold, as you know. And that is how we make a bondage in our family. So wishing you all a very, very happy family life, and let your family set an example to say that we are one big family in this world. And only when we can settle our families, and doesn't take days, mind you, we can demonstrate to the world how the larger family of the world can live or stand as one family, bound to each other with love and respect. Hari Om, and wish you all the best.